We've added a new vehicle to our electric fleet, and it is a 2023 Talaria Sting R MX4. Today, I'm going to be taking my Talaria up into the mountains with my Tesla Model S towing it, and I'm going to be joining up with two friends to go single track riding up in the mountains. They're going to be both on 4-stroke motorcycles that are gas powered. I'm going to be the only one on electric. So here's hoping that the pairing goes okay and that I can keep up with them, or vice versa perhaps. In any case, this is going to be my first time riding it up in the mountains, and I will tell you all about how this came to be while we ride. One thing I really like about towing with my Tesla is I can pull up the backup camera while I'm driving forward and see what the trailer is up to and make sure the load hasn't shifted or anything like that. Today we started the drive at 67% on the battery. We're down to 66 now, and you can see it's 73 degrees outside, so really nice weather. And we've got another 20 minutes of driving to do, and so it's going to be 10 miles and we'll get there with 58% on the battery. Now, that being said, we're towing up into the mountains, so it is most certainly going to be less than that. So let's see what it is when we get there. We are at the trailhead. This is the Lower Mill Canyon trailhead. Checking on the status of the Tesla battery, we are at 55%, and it's 64 degrees up here, so you can see the temperature dropped pretty precipitously, which is typical. And this is what the last 15 miles of driving looked like. So we averaged 591 watt-hours per mile. And that's about what I would expect for towing even a light trailer up into the mountains. Let's go get the trailer unloaded. I have charged the Talaria completely, so you can see it's right here at 100%. So kind of a bummer. A ranger came by and informed us that the trail we were going to do is closed. So we're going to head off in a different direction than what we had originally planned. But we'll still have fun doing it. And I'm tracking our trip with Strava so I can have some stats about this ride. Since this is all new to me, this whole camera setup and microphones and the bike itself, well, I'm not totally sure how this is going to play out. I have my Talaria in sport mode, and the wire is cut, so it's unlocked. The prior owner took care of that for me. So let's see how this goes. My history of riding motorcycles goes way back to when I was 16 years old, when I got an old 1971 Honda 350 running, which we had in our barn that had not run for many years. I had so much fun on that thing, but let's be clear, it wasn't running great, and was on hard rubber tires, probably decades old. This is video I recorded back then with my family's camcorder that recorded onto VHS-C tapes. So please excuse the terrible quality, but hey, I've got something.
I put that pack on it so I could put my stuff in it. I put a dirt bike tire on it. Honda 350. The first time we did, I put it in the helmet and taped it to the handlebars. This is what it looked like then.
This was far before action cameras, and I was worried about breaking my parents' expensive video camera. So initially I put the camera inside my motorcycle helmet to protect it, but I quickly discovered that that didn't work well due to being loosely mounted directly to the motorcycle, which was bouncing around on the uneven terrain.
I drove around the farm on the motorcycle. I put the camera on the tripod and then put the tripod down my coat and strapped it to me, so you'll see me driving around the farm. I did this the 17th of November, 97. I have this tied in my coat.
With the tripod!
I wish that somebody had taken a picture of me with this solution because I'm sure it looked hilarious, but unfortunately nobody did. But this worked really well because it isolated the camera movement away from the bouncing motorcycle because it was strapped to my body and I could stand up when I hit extra big bumps and try to smooth it out. It clearly was tilted because, well, the camera couldn't be where my face is, so it was on the side of my head, and then the tripod went diagonally across my chest. In any case, I got this footage of our farm and riding around on that first motorcycle that I got running back then. My sister Emily also helped me out by getting some additional footage of me riding around.
He's gonna go ride the motorcycle. Ah!
You're not taking, are you?
He's gonna go on the cellar hill.
How's that?
Woo! That's a good one. Good one.
I had so much fun riding it around our yard, over the root cellar, in the cornfields, or down our gravel road. Boy howdy, has camera technology ever improved since then. This was recorded 8 years before YouTube even existed. Clearly the bike suspension was not meant for jumps, but I still had fun doing it, and for what it's worth, the suspension never broke. There were other tuning issues or maintenance that I kept working on, and I was constantly bending the ear of a seasoned veteran friend in our area who knew about working on motorcycles. After about a year of this, one day he said, "I have a proposal for you. I have an old motorcycle in my garage that my son left behind years ago when he went to college. He no longer wants it, so you're welcome to have it if you'll free up that space in my garage." Of course, I took him up on his offer, being very elated, and as soon as I could pick it up, I did so. It was a 1975 Honda CL360 Scrambler. The carburetors were gummed up, apparently having had all the gasoline just evaporate out of them over the years, and the battery was dead. Luckily, the engine block wasn't seized up from corrosion like the 1971 Honda 360 had been. Once I cleaned the carburetors and stole the battery from the other motorcycle, I got it running relatively easily. It ran better than the other Honda, and I rode it all around the farm I grew up on, having a blast with it for the next 2 years until I left home and had to leave it there for about 3 years.
Okay, camera's on now. Hold on tight, Kim.
There's Anthony's car, the diesel. He wants a better one. It's kind of breaking down a little bit.
I have Regen braking on level 4, which is the maximum level that I have available to me. It's nowhere near as strong as I would like it to be. There's a cool Rivian R1T. It definitely spoils the joy of the silence, or at least near silence, of my Talaria, being flanked by louder motorcycles, but it's alright. It's just mixed up technology out there in the world. It's fun to have options, and there's pros and cons to everything usually. Huh. There's some example of some silence right there. This is what it could be. The battery on this thing being fully charged, definitely I can tell a difference from, say, for instance, yesterday it was at 30%. I was giving the kids rides around the park nearby, and there was undoubtedly more power once I fully charged it this morning, and right now I can feel that torquiness stronger. I finally managed to get my first motorcycle out to Utah after that long 3-year motorcycle riding hiatus where I was attending college. And all I had to do was put in a new battery and some gas, and it started right up thanks to some prep work I had done prior to storing it, like running the gas out of it and putting some motor oil down the spark plug holes and cranking it a couple of times. The 1971 Honda 360 was my brother's, and he got his running eventually, and my other brother ended up getting a similar one as well, and we had great times riding around together. There's a great view. Up here you can see Tibble Fork Reservoir way down there. We've already gotten up to Silver Lake Flat, and I can see a significant reduction in the amount of water in it since I was just up here a few weeks ago with the kayak, or with the canoe rather. So that's kind of interesting. So I'm going downhill right now, and I can definitely feel the Regen helping to hold me back, but it's, like I said, not as strong as I would like. I am guessing, if there isn't a technical reason for it, which I doubt there is, since other electric vehicles have stronger Regen, I'm guessing that they just feel like it will confuse people and cause accidents if it's too strong. Like if it locked up the tire when you're on loose, gravelly terrain, they could be liable or something. But if that's the answer, I would just say, well, that's why you have varying levels of Regen to allow people to select what's safe and what they prefer and what they're used to. It's all about modulation of the twisting of the throttle. Oh joy, I get to do a water crossing. It's my first water crossing. That's nothing. The battery is at 88%, So it took 12% to get up here, but it won't take anything to get back down probably. The regen is weak enough. I'm not sure that I'll regain anything, but I might. Let's see. It's going to be a long period of downhill. So it'll be a good test of the regen braking and how useful it actually is. Eventually, I upgraded to a 2004 Suzuki V-Strom DL650, which I had great fun riding around Utah with more confidence that it wouldn't break down, leaving me stranded in remote locations. So I rode it out into the mountains farther than I had ever on my Scrambler. The longest and roughest ride was riding it down Squaw Peak Road for 25 miles, which was a gravel road with rough sections. During a good portion of owning both these motorcycles, I didn't own any other motorized form of transportation, so I rode them year-round. While I owned the V-Strom, however, I purchased a Toyota RAV4 and ultimately decided to sell the V-Strom, as I didn't ride it as much and didn't have a great place to store it at the apartment I was living in at the time. Having a problem with my brake line getting tucked in and touching the tire right here, so I need to figure that out. All right, let's do this. The condition that this trail is in, with it being so rocky with big boulders mixed in with loose rocks, makes it more tricky, of course. And I mean, I could do this on a larger gas-powered dirt bike, but I'm quite enjoying it with this bike. It's very maneuverable. It's probably not quite as planted as a larger bike would be, especially because it only has a 19-inch tire. The tire on the front is 19 inches. That was gnarly. It didn't take long, however, before I decided to pick up a cheap 1995 Suzuki GS 500 project bike that had been dropped against a wall and needed some TLC. After some work, I rode that around for a while, and my roommate even picked up a nearly identical GS 500. And we had some grand adventures riding all around the region before another bike caught my attention on the local classifieds. We're getting up into the trees. It's nice. Of course, today's overcast, so the cloud cover from the sun is not as necessary. Oh, this is the gnarliest spot yet. Let's see how he's doing. He's got it. Wow, going up these steep hills, it's definitely lifted the front tire off several times as I'm accelerating, especially from standstill, of course. We've now used a quarter of the battery, so we're down to 75%, and we've been going for 26.5 minutes. Oh, gotta come up this way. So we've gone an average of 14 miles an hour so far, and we've gone 6.49 miles on 25% of the battery.
What's up? Which way? I think that way goes back. Okay, from that way, yeah.
I discovered a damaged 2003 Suzuki SV 650 that had been laid down and certainly had road rash and broken parts to prove it. I was able to get it for cheap, and I fixed it up pretty nicely. Most of my adventures around Utah canyoneering were in my RAV4, but I did end up taking this motorcycle on some of those adventures where I could. I ended up taking it down to Zion National Park and Moab, both of which were way farther away than I had ever ventured on any prior motorcycle, although the V-Strom would have been fantastic for these trips. I'm still kind of sad that I sold it. That windshield and rear hard carrier case would have been really handy in the rain I rode through coming back from Moab. Another memorable trip was riding to Antelope Island in the Great Salt Lake, where the brine flies were out in force so thickly that it looked like we were riding through a blizzard. Cool. Love it. Now this is why I got this bike, to be able to see views like this. So my bike is hilariously small relative looking to these other bikes, but it got me here, and it doesn't have as high of a top speed, and there's some other limitations potentially, but it's kind of funny how much smaller it looks compared to their bikes. So this one is a Honda XR 250, and this one is a Husqvarna 310cc TXC. Look at this gorgeous mountain canyon. This is at the top of it. That's where we came up from down there. All right, status update on the bike. So we're at 64% on the battery, and we've been riding for 59 minutes, and we've gone 8.76 miles. Our average speed has been 8.8 miles per hour, but I have not paused this when we've stopped and looked at the views like we are right now. So keep that in mind, but that gives you an idea of what this ride has been like. And I just remembered elevation change, and I will put on screen what the elevation change was. Now we're going back down. It is starting to rain just slightly, so we're going to kind of mosey on back to our vehicles and potentially hit up side trails along the way if the rain holds out. But it's been a ton of fun coming up, and the question is, having turned around at the battery percentage we did, I have it on level 4 regen. So I don't know how much we're going to regain going back down, if any at all. It's definitely not slowing me down enough so that I don't have to use my brakes, but I wouldn't necessarily want that because I need to be able to modulate the brakes pretty exactly with this loose terrain and going between the front and the rear brake. Finally, my last bike prior to the Talaria was a 2008 Aprilia Shiver 750. It was a great bike, and I ended up riding it for 7 years, taking it on many adventures. I considered making YouTube videos of rides back then, and I experimented with my GoPro Hero 2, mounting the camera in various locations to get different perspectives. This is the bike I had when Jessica and I met and got married, and the first 6 years of our marriage. Over that time, I did as much of the maintenance myself as I could manage, including mounting and balancing the tires. We occasionally got out riding on it together, but due to kids, most of the time I used it as a secondary vehicle to get around town. With all of these motorcycles, I took many people on rides and made many fun memories riding all over the region. By far the favorite time to go riding, though, was in the fall up into the mountains to see the fall colors. In the peak season, I would sometimes go multiple days in a row to varied canyons in the area. Sometimes I would invite others with motorcycles to make a group ride out of it, and we always had a great time. Oh, I didn't know you were there. The other guys have turned off their engines and they're just gliding down the mountain as silently as I am, so that's kind of nice. Woo. Yeah, do we want to go down there? There are a lot of campsites up in here that are only accessible to high clearance vehicles. It's unfortunate someone left their couch in here. It's really lame. Wow, these campsites are just nestled back in here all over the place. It's awesome. I'm definitely going to come back here someday with my truck. It might not be my current truck. I might wait till my Cybertruck to come back, but it's good to know it's here. So I went back in there and there's a whole bunch of campsites I didn't know were there. And clearly you'd have a hard time getting there in anything but like an off-roading type vehicle. After having come down from the peak of this mountain, looking at the Strava stats, we are now at an hour and 20 minutes. We've gone 12.22 miles, average speed 9.1 miles per hour, and the battery is now at 64%. Now, it was still at 65% when I got to where I am right now. It's just that I went exploring in here, looking at the campsites and such, and that used a percent. So it used 0% to come down from up there, which is wholly unsurprising. He was having a hard time getting his bike started, but he succeeded by popping the clutch. So now we're going to continue on our way. In early 2018, when I purchased my Nissan Leaf, I switched to driving it to work instead of my Shiver 750, and after a while of the motorcycle just sitting there, I decided to sell it. I liked that I had free charging at work, and I wanted to get away from the maintenance that gas engine vehicles require. Also, I was in the thick of raising my young daughters and didn't have much, if any, time to go joyriding. For a couple years, I had been relegated to just commuting to work on it, which was taking the joy from riding. This is a short clip from a video short that I made for a project at work one day. Hey girls! Smiling. So cute! Look over here. So I'm probably going to sell the motorcycle tonight. So this is what the ages of the girls are at the time that it gets sold. End of an era. I think it's okay. We'll get a better one later.
I think Tara wants to ride the motorcycle.
Wants to ride a motorcycle?
Think so?
It was a sad day when that bike drove away with someone else on it, and my girls cried. I told them I planned to get another motorcycle someday, but I wanted it to be electric. I looked into electric bikes, and they were way too cost prohibitive, such as Zero Motorcycles was around $15,000 at the time. I created a search query in my local used classifieds, and I've been watching the used Zero motorcycles for the last 5 years, but they're still rarely cheaper than $10,000, and I'm still not willing to pay that much for how minimal their range is. We just talked to this guy. He's fixing his Jeep right there, welding it here at this campground, which is kind of cool. So this is fascinating. I was literally just up here 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. I'll put exactly what it was. It was not long, and we were canoeing here, and like, wow, almost all the water is gone now. They just let it go. This is a reservoir after all, but I'm amazed at how much they let out so quickly. There was a ton of recreation happening here, lots of canoeing, kayaking, paddleboarding. It's all gone. We're back to the cars, and we went for a total of 2 hours, average 8.5 miles per hour, total 17.82 miles, and we're at 58% on the Talaria battery. So I used 2% getting down from way up at Silver Lake Flat, but I was accelerating and playing around. I could have probably come down with using nothing if I just rolled somewhat slowly in some places, and because it's not completely downhill perfectly the whole way. This is the Strava app that I was using to track that ride, and so this will give us the aggregate statistics of the whole ride. So as you saw earlier, I already said it was 17.82 miles, and the moving time is what it wasn't showing, and that is 1 hour and 18 minutes and 39 seconds. And then the elevation was 3,300 feet, and I believe that's elevation change, so that's both up and down. And then speed down here, we have the average was 13.6 miles per hour, and the maximum was 38.6, and then the elapsed time was 2 hours and 6 minutes. Down here we have the map of the route, so you can see down here we began just northeast of Tibble Fork Reservoir, and we rode up the road here all the way around. This is all the gravel road, and then this right here is where we crossed the first stream that I went across, and then this was all of that ATV trails up in the mountains all the way up in here, and then we came back down around. This is the campground area that we were exploring, and then we came back down on the east side of the reservoir and then back to the cars down here. And then lastly we have the elevation change here. So we began down here at 6,400 feet, And you can see here as we continued, and actually you can see on the map above that it's showing where we were on the map when the elevation was at that point, so that's kind of fun. And you can see the elevation was going up and up and up, and I'm going off the screen there. I'm going to scroll this up and then we can see it better. I would not have wanted to do all of this on a bicycle. It has a lot of elevation gain. And then coming back down, reversed all of that. So there's some stats for you. A couple years ago, I looked into building an e-bike with a Bafang BBS HD mid-drive motor and various other components, but I ended up finding one in my local classifieds that a guy had already built out with the Bafang BBS HD motor and a huge 1028 watt-hour battery from EM3 EV. So I just purchased his instead, and it's been working great for us. My main use case for it was pulling our bicycle trailer with our kids in it, and it works so very well for that. I introduced that bicycle during our RV trip to Arizona, which I'll link above, and I've intended to make additional videos about it, but I just have such a backlog of trip videos I haven't gotten around to doing that yet. Last weekend, a friend mentioned he had purchased a new dirt bike motorcycle and invited me to go riding with him on his old bike, which is a 1995 Honda 250L XR. I jumped on that opportunity and had a blast riding on dirt bike trails in the mountains, which was my first time ever doing so. My 20 years of experience with riding motorcycles on the road, plus mountain biking here in Utah, came in handy, and it was relatively easy to keep up with the other guys. But this was my first time combining motorcycles with the mountains. We rode roughly 10 miles round trip over about 4 hours, and I loved every minute. In our conversations, we talked about the electric dirt bikes on the market these days, and when I got home, I began researching more and discovered this gray area emerging between motorcycles and bicycles of e-bikes from Suron and now Talaria. During my research, I decided a Talaria Sting R MX4 would be a great re-entry into motorcycle ownership for me. Although it's technically an electric bicycle, I looked up my local classifieds and found one being sold that's only a couple of months old, had 383 miles on the odometer, and it was in perfect condition. So after talking him down from his listed price, I bought it. The prior owner did cut the wire, so it operates on full power in sport mode. What do you think, Sarah?
I love it!
Yeah, that's right.
Whee!
I've changed the gearbox oil, installed the padding to stop the battery from rattling, and replaced the front brake pads. These Shimano H03C brake pads are so much better than the squeaky pads that it came with. Okay, everybody's done. I'm disappointed with the weak regen braking. I don't understand why it has 4 levels of regen braking when they're also weak. I keep the regen level at 4 at all times, which is the maximum it has. As a minor point, I also wish it had Bluetooth or wireless connectivity with an app to track ride stats and see when the battery is charged, change settings, etc. I mean, my Tesla, my RV Victron devices, and my One Wheel all have that. Why can't the Talaria? James is having a good old time. He's enjoying this about as much as I expected. James didn't express as much excitement as his sisters, but he definitely expressed disappointment when his turn was done. One last critique is I wish it had a USB port or two like the Suron has for charging accessories on the handlebars. I'm still figuring out additional transportation options for the Talaria, such as mounting it on a trailer hitch bike rack on the back of the trailer or in the front of the truck or something to that effect. And we'll be taking it on RV trips, and we'll be able to use it to scout out potential boondocking locations and just exploring the areas that we're camping and general fun. My kids have been eagerly anticipating getting a new motorcycle at some point in the future, so when I introduced it to them, they were ecstatic and immediately wanted to go for a ride on it. What do you think, girls? So I took them to a nearby park and gave them rides on it, and they absolutely loved it. When we take it on camping trips, it'll get lots of miles put on it, and we'll be able to charge it from the power generated from our RV solar panels. When we're not camping, I'll continue towing it around with my Tesla Model S and riding trails in the mountains here in Utah, where I live, and making videos of all our experiences.
Pretty fun.
That is fun.
It is fun?
Mm-hmm.
You love it?
Yeah.
Alright, let's keep going. Hold on right here and here,
So
and then put your feet on top of my feet once I take off, okay?
It's so fun. Go super, 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 really fast.
In any case, I had a ton of fun. I'm really happy with it. It performed really well. I was able to keep up with the other guys no problem, and I still have plenty of range. We could keep going for several more hours, but the weather is overcast and about to rain, so we're gonna pack it up and head home. I'm now back in the Tesla, and we're heading back out of the canyon. I just wanted to point out that the Tesla's battery is at 54%. So let's see how much better the Regen braking is going out of the canyon with this car. We're just exiting the entrance to the canyon right now, and looking at the car, we are at 55% on the battery. So we didn't lose any energy, but we really didn't gain back any either. But I didn't use the friction brakes the whole time we were driving all the way out of the canyon. The bike is still sitting back there just fine. I've made it back home, and the Tesla's battery is down to 50%. Although I did drive around running some other errands, went out to lunch, etc. But the bike did great, and as you can see, it definitely picked up a lot of extra dirt that it didn't have before. I'm probably not going to clean it though, because I'm going to be taking it on some more trails here pretty soon. So it's just going to keep getting dirty, so I'll clean it when we're done. If you're interested in grid-tied solar performance, Tesla road trips, maintenance costs of our Tesla, towing with a Tesla, RV trips powered by solar panels, as well as electric bikes, feel free to subscribe as we continue to experience electric tech adventures.